Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. I am live from Macon, GA, site of, or at least one of the sites of the GHSA State Soccer Championships. I've got 6A tonight. I had 4A last night. I'll show you guys the winner from that one here in just a second. We'll be getting into the Friday free kick at 9:30. Mike Conti will join at 10 o'clock to talk about Chicago's visit to the Benz this weekend, and then 10:30 the MLS weekend Whiparound. What was that, John? What was the movement there?
It's a whiparound.
What is that?
I was whipping around.
He does weird things with his hands, Jarrett, and sometimes I don't always get it.
Whiparound.
It's like the Fox and Fantastic Mr. Fox when he does the whole different thing. He's just hand motions different.
Yeah. I mean, they're all kind of the same hand motions for these things.
Well, I only have a limited amount of space that I can do something with for a hand motion. I can't, go outside of frame. Then people are sitting there and wondering, what are you doing with your hands? And they can't see it.
Well, they can kind of tell because of your arms, because your hands are connected to your arms, and that's normally how it goes. I don't think your hands become disconnected when they go out of frame. I think we've understood that reference by this stage, but maybe not. We'll get into all the stuff as we go today. I do want to ask Jarrett, since I'll choose violence first thing this morning. How do you feel about Rangers in a final?
You can choose violence. I'm actually pretty cordial about this because I
know you're not typical in this.
I am so incredibly impressed. Mentioned this yesterday to somebody. It's you go back in the last month. They played Braga to 120 minutes of drunkenness where Rangers had a 2-man advantage and still almost threw it away. Then 3 days later, beat Celtic in a cup final that went 120 minutes, or a cup semifinal, excuse me. They get a week break, play Motherwell. That's standard procedure. Then go play to a 1-0 loss at Leipzig, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Mm-mm.
Then 3 days later, played Celtic at Celtic Park to a draw. Then that was last weekend. And then you come out this week and you win it 2-1 at home and knock Leipzig out and make the final. They have played a lot of physically and emotionally just taxing games in the last month. Every time I think they're out of gas, they show that they're not. And I'm endlessly impressed that they've been able to do it, because when Leipzig scored yesterday and got their first goal to tie up the entire 180-minute tie at 2-2, I thought Rangers were cooked. It's like, that's okay. Well, good. Thanks for being here, guys. There's no way you have anything left in the tank, because at that point you were starting to see after halftime Leipzig really started leaning on them heavily.
Yeah,
but Leipzig's goalkeeper, man, that dude was kind of, I don't know who he was. He's kind of a bomb scare, though, on crosses, because Rangers kept floating in crosses, like, to the far post, and he would jump and flail at it and miss. He did it 2 or 3 times. And that last time, he jumps, flails, he misses. It gets ricocheted back to the middle of the box and tapped in. But unbelievably impressed. I don't know how they're going to have any energy for the league, which if Celtic wins this week, and you're basically at that point, you're at a 6-point gap with 2 games remaining, and Celtic has an obscene, Celtic has a really like a 20 goal advantage in goal difference. So I think it's pretty much, league's pretty much done. But we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Jason. Rangers had to go all out for this, and they have, and they deserve so much respect for what they've done.
Yeah, 100%. Did that pain you at all to say those things?
Not at all.
Is your membership card going to be revoked?
I was going to ask about that.
They can piss off if they want to take a membership card away from that, because Rangers have been playing fun.
Be careful, though. Christian Ramirez got in trouble with this stuff, remember?
True.
Christian, buddy, no one's going to blame you if you jump.
Go on home.
No, they're not.
Because everything has just been crap for him since he did that in January, February. But The Rangers are a little bit more direct than Celtic goes about things.
Yeah, different style.
James Tavernier is a right back who has the most goals in Europa League this year. They've gotten, and the wild part to me is that they've done this without Alfredo Morelos. He's out for the year. That big-bodied, physical number 9. They don't have that right now. Like, it's Joe Aribo. Joe Aribo missed a tap in from legitimately 5 feet away yesterday. There's a bouncing ball that he skied. All he had to do was just basically like put his foot in the way and let the ball bounce off of it. They've done this while missing guys. It deserves a ton of credit, and we can get into it, and I'm sure you guys will get into it later, and we'll get into it with soccer over there next week. All 3 finals are really exciting in Europe.
Yeah, let's run through them really quick. The other side of the Europa League final, there's stories on both sides of it. Eintracht Frankfurt, first time in 42 years through to a major European final. Rafael Santos Borré with the goal here. West Ham played with 10 for 70 minutes. You had a pitch invasion that Eintracht Frankfurt is going to get in trouble for. You had some fan issues between the 2 sets of fans. Probably everybody's going to get in trouble for that. David Moyes should be suspended for a while. He kicked the ball at a ball boy, and then he tried to jokingly apologize afterwards. Watch the video. He ain't joking when he does it, and that's ridiculous. I don't care how mad you are. With 12 minutes left in the game, he kicked the ball back at the ball boy. He said, "I have to apologize for kicking the ball. The ball boy left it short nicely on the volley for me. I apologize for it. It didn't hit him. I think it bent just past him." So that's like the argument that we would have when we did discipline and protest with Georgia Soccer. Well, he threw a punch at him, but he had bad aim and missed, so he shouldn't get suspended for as long. No. If Moyes had actually hit the kid with a volley, it'd be assault. First off, so yeah, it's reprehensible for David Moyes to do that. It's not funny. It's also not funny when Declan Rice in the tunnel says to the referee, "It's so poor all night. It's so bad. How can you be that bad? Honestly, probably been blanking paid, blanking corruption." Yeah, you're going to get a 3-game ban, Declan Rice. Those are the real magic words with referees.
Ask Harris Medunian and how that goes.
He should have got worse than he did. Ask Chris Wondolowski why he got sent off from the bench.
Yes,
is the one, and he admitted what he said, and that's pretty much along the lines of what he said.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a 3-game ban. That's when Medunian got kicked out. It should have been more for the things that he said that I had told to me by people in the referee community. You can't do that. You can drop some other words. It's not the blanking part that is the problem in this. I want to make that clear. Cuss at a referee. Some referees get bent out of shape about it. American referees get more bent out of shape about it. But when you say they've been paid and you accuse them of being corrupt, yeah, you're going to need to sit down for a while in that competition. So that's not going to go well for Declan Rice. It shouldn't go well for David Moyes either, because that's horrendous. He did get sent off, so he's at least got a 1-match ban. It should be extended. You can't be kicking balls back at ball boys. Europa Conference League, Feyenoord gets through 3-2 on aggregate. And in the other side, Jose Mourinho gets to the Conference League final with Roma after losing in the group stage at Bodo Glimt and having to get through them in the knockouts again. They win 1-0 over Leicester. Mourinho, first manager in a Champions League final, Europa League final, Europa Conference League final, and you saw what it meant to him. Jose can be a caricature of himself at times. He can be ridiculous and over the top at times. I do think he's lost his fastball as a manager, but you can't ever say that he doesn't love the game and love what he does. I think you got that from the Amazon Tottenham series where you got to see a little bit more of Jose. And was it played up for the cameras a little bit? Maybe, possibly. This wasn't. You could saw pure emotion of getting to a final and what it meant to him. Very cool. That's why we love this game. So, yeah, I'm with you, Jarrett. Both finals are very interesting with all kinds of subplots. And we will get deeper into them as we get a little bit closer to them. Some other news of the day, because it's a packed show today. Bayer Leverkusen is reiterating that Patrick Schick will not leave the club this summer. They want to add to what they have. They don't want to dismantle what they have. Sporting director is making it clear he ain't going anywhere. Kylian Mbappe, reports in Le Parisien are saying that he has signed a new extension with PSG or on the brink of signing it. His mother on Twitter says, not quite. No agreement in principle yet. No agreement with anybody else yet. Says talks over Kylian's future continue in a climate of great calm to allow him to make the best decision for all parties involved. The extension that has been reported is £42.5 million a year, £85 million signing on fee. 2-year extension is what's being reported. In England, we have a couple of updates. Roman Abramovich tells everybody that the things that we've talked about this week are not true and the way they were reported, which we covered yesterday. There was some real ambiguity in the way things were being talked about with loans being repaid. And it's like, breaking headline, he wants the money back. Oh, my goodness, everything's going to fall apart. Oh, wait, maybe not quite. Maybe it's actually just a really complicated legal issue. And then today it's like, yeah, shut up, numpties. I don't want the money back. So this is just all stupid. That's the process you have to follow with this stuff in the English media. Day one, outrage. Day two, well, wait a minute, maybe not so much outrage. Day three, facts. So just do it that way from now on. That's how we have to deal with it. Todd Boehly hoping today to sign the first contract in the takeover worth £4 billion. It's going to be a lot of contracts. There's going to be a lot of process here, but it is sounding like it is very close to get started. In Abramovich's statement that he issued, he made it clear that he hasn't asked for any loan to be repaid to him. He says it's entirely false. He did not increase the price of the club at the last minute. He has encouraged each bidder throughout the process to commit to investing in the club, academy, women's team, redevelopment of the stadium, the work of the Chelsea Foundation. The loan is part of the sanctions, so it requires additional approvals. Those funds have to be frozen. It's a legal procedure, is what Abramovich says in his statement. The funds are still earmarked for the foundation. So what we talked about yesterday with they might have to basically put it in a freeze, that all lines up here. So, the loan has to be accounted for because of the legal ramifications, but it's frozen. And then, according to Abramovich's statement, it's going to go into the foundation as soon as it can go into the foundation. He's making it clear that he has no access, no control of any of the funds or anything going on here. Say what you want, and it's definitely a complicated conversation when it comes to Roman Abramovich. I think people have jumped to paint him as a cartoon, and he's not. He's a human being, and I do think he has tried to do the right thing by the club and by their fans throughout this process. I really believe that he has. Maybe that's me being the optimist, but that's the way that I've seen it, and it's generally followed that line, and until proven otherwise, that's kind of where my head's at. A couple of things on the EFL side, and I know I'm shocked that I came up with as much England news this morning as anybody else. VAR is going to be involved in the championship playoffs. I'm sure that'll be normal and very calm, and everything will be, copacetic with that. Yeah, sure. Anyway, and Derby County's takeover has been delayed. There are a few complications when it comes down to finances, spending levels for next season. The stadium is a little complicated because the former owner owns the stadium. The city council of Derby is willing to buy it back, although that hasn't been done yet. So there's a few things. It doesn't sound like major things, but maybe major with a lowercase m kind of things. I think the stadium's the biggest issue. One thing that has been made clear about Derby and everything is they are going down to League One. And if Chris Kirchner is the guy who gets the club and he's the one who has passed the owner's test and all that stuff, if he gets it, Wayne Rooney said he'll stay on with them in League One. So that's where things stand at this point. They run out of money on Saturday when their last match is this Saturday. Is that right, John?
Yeah, this is the last weekend of the championship for 2022.
So then they are out of money at that point. And yeah, we'll see where that goes. Anything else you want to throw in out of England?
Really quick this morning, Mikhail Arteta has signed a new contract with Arsenal until 2025, appointed back in 2019. Right now, they're fourth with 4 matches to go, and they're trying to chase after their first championship, their first Champions League spot since 2017, but that news came across about an hour ago as well.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Some domestic news. DC United looking at an MLS Next Pro team in the greater Baltimore area, according to The Athletic yesterday. You might kind of be like, wait a minute, don't they have a second team, Loudoun United? They do, but a very interesting thing here is that they cannot join Loudoun United or the team at Loudoun, and maybe there's a bit of wiggle room there. A team playing in Loudoun County cannot be in the 3rd division. The agreement between DC United and Loudoun County, which stipulates United's presence in the area, says that it has to be a 2nd division team. MLS Next Pro is a 3rd division team. This is all incredibly stupid because it's like a certification on paper that doesn't really mean much because you're not moving up and down. So, okay. How do they handle that? And then what happens with Loudoun United if they can't be Loudoun United in a DC team because USL doesn't want a second team in there? Do they spin it off as something separate? I don't know how they could do that. I don't know if they want to do that. Or do they just go away and then you have an agreement to have a second team there and you did all kinds of partnership about building facility? I'm sure there were things that were given to the club from the government, and now you're going to not have a team there because they're not in the 2nd division because of other soccer politics. That's about as U.S. soccer as it gets, huh? Or American soccer, or United States soccer as it gets. NWSL players will receive $10,000 for winning the NWSL Challenge Cup, $5,000 for finishing second. It's a big deal when the minimum base salary is $35,000 a year. The other semifinalists who lost got $1,500. The numbers will go up in 23 and pretty significantly because of a partnership, a new title sponsorship that is coming with UKG. Last couple ones. TV ratings for the CONCACAF final Wednesday night. 1.1 million viewers combined on FS1 and Unimas. 300,000 watched FS1. 179,000 of those were in the Seattle market. That's incredibly substantial. Game drew 9% higher than the 21 final, which was Monterrey and Club America. 42% higher than 2020, which was LAFC and Tigres, which was in December, which was weird because it was 2020 and everything was weird. USL W League kicks off tonight, actually, with Indy 11 playing host to the first match of the reconstituted W League. The region with teams around us kicks off next weekend. You've got USL W League teams in Chattanooga with the Red Wolves, MOBA with Peachtree City, South Carolina United Bantams, Tormenta, SSA has a team, Tennessee SC has a team. I think there's going to be even more as we go. Greenville, are they waiting for the Super League next year, John? Or are they W League this year?
Greenville is W League this year with the Greenville Liberty.
Okay, and Asheville City is W League this year too. That's another one that's nearby, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I wanted to show you guys the skull from last night and talk a little bit about the high school games from last night as well, because I'm just lucky to get to call these things. It's a blast. And last night there was a viewing party in Dalton for the game between Southeast Whitfield and Northwest Whitfield, and it looked like a pretty substantial viewing party in downtown Dalton at a park.
Yeah.
Come back to that one. The girls' game, it was Marist and Jefferson. Jefferson's first time in a state championship game, and it was a really good game. 1-0 Marist in overtime. They get the win. It's their 11th state title. Jefferson, the only public school in the 2A, 3A, or 4A finals. They had to go on the road for almost the entire playoffs, over 1,000 miles on their bus to get to this point. And they had opportunities to win this, but came up just a little bit short against Marist. And Marist, that's a young team. They're probably going to be back a few more times with the bulk of that group. But the nightcap, Southeast Whitfield and Northwest Whitfield, first time they had met in a state championship match. Southeast were the defending champs. Northwest last won it in 2018, which makes them the outcasts of the major schools in that area because Dalton has won it since then. The Dalton Academy is brand new. They win it. Southeast were the defending champs. Northwest is the longest one away from it. They came in as the favorite. They had most of the play. They gave up a goal against the run of play. So Southeast jumped out to the lead. Then there was a red card for Southeast. Dogso situation. The other thing about the games I've called so far is the refereeing's been outstanding. The refereeing has been great. Dogso nailed it on this one. Red card for Southeast. Northwest, after Southeast couldn't really deal with the free kick, saved for a corner, headed away, second corner, ends up in the back of the net. So it's 1-1, and it looks like Northwest at this point with the man advantage, they're going to be just fine, and they're going to win this thing. But then it's a goal kick for Northwest in the second half, 11v10, and it had been 11v10 for a long time, and this is what happened next. Goal kick taken short, intercepted. Ramirez. Long-range shot. What a shot from Ramirez! Goal, goal, goal! Diego Ramirez with a golazo! Look at the crowd because it was a huge turnout.
That just dropped my jaw, Jason. That was insane. You intercept the goal kick. He knows he's got to pull the trigger, lines it up, and they do not get better than that.
The substitute, Diego Ramirez, with a bomb. It was an incredible shot. And I've went back and checked it a couple times. I don't think the audio and video got out of sync. I got so excited when he hit that ball because we're right behind it. We are from an angle. We were like right behind looking at the goal when he hits it. And you could just tell that thing's flying off his boot. And incredible moment. Fans were almost evenly split. They filled almost the lower side of that. It's maybe one of the biggest crowds I've seen for a game. And these folks had to travel, 3.5, 4 hours?
Yeah.
It was amazing stuff. Just absolutely amazing stuff. So that was my golazo of the evening. If you're wondering why my voice is a little scratchy, that would be why.
Hey, calls like that, you love calls like that. You live for calls like that. And being in an environment where you've got the Battle of the Whitfields and tremendous crowd there, great crowd at the Performing Arts Center in the park at the Burr. So, I mean, you get to see what high school soccer means to parts of the state like this, and Northwest Georgia is one of the hotbeds. If you haven't been able to sample Northwest Georgia high school soccer, that was an example as to what it means.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it before we go. Jarrett, you're coming back for the Whiparound at 10:30, right?
That's what we do.
All right. Well, we will see you then.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's get into the Friday free kick right now. Michael Parkhurst hanging out with us. What's up? How are you?
Morning, guys. I'm good, thanks. How are you all doing?
Doing good. I'm in Macon for Georgia State Championships at high school. We were just talking about the game last night with the teams from the Dalton area and how many fans traveled for that. Jefferson fans traveled on the girls' side. We saw it even at the single A public side. It's, I know it's something you guys have been doing a lot this spring, talking to high school programs. I'm just blown away at the level and also like the level of attention it's getting. It really feels like Georgia high school soccer is like turning a massive corner and getting really big right now.
That's awesome. Love to hear that. And that's funny because it comes in a time when, a lot of clubs are trying to push players away from playing high school soccer. So it's nice to see that it's still thriving, still providing great opportunities, and players can still get better, improve, have fun, represent their school, and potentially continue to play on afterwards.
Yeah, I think the thing that's jumped out to me about it is, in the metro Atlanta area, of course, the kids have the clubs, and a lot of them do have to make those tough decisions about playing with their friends and playing in front of their friends and family in stadiums versus playing club. But you get outside the metro area, and that's a lot of the schools that I'm seeing, whether it's, Jefferson, whether it's the Dalton schools that are, a couple hours away. We've seen South Georgia schools as well over the years. For those kids, they might not have as easy access to club, and it's almost like it flips. High school then becomes the bigger deal, and how they get noticed and how they get those college commitments.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense too. And I think that, there's a real pride in representing your school, and you like to go out there and do that and play with your friends and against some of your other friends, and create those rivalries. And it's just a little bit different than playing against club teams that you don't know anybody, you've never heard of. And yeah, of course the competition's good, but there's definitely something to representing your school and playing in front of your friends and family. So that's awesome to hear.
There's that element of dealing with pressure. And it's different in a club game where, it might be 10 a.m. and you're playing versus with 25 people hanging around the field versus playing with a few thousand in a stadium in a high school game. And that's something that, I think has been lacking at times, whether it's, just national teams, whether it's MLS teams and CONCACAF. And we saw this week, Seattle bust down that door and handle the pressure incredibly well in the first leg, and then second leg they never really looked all that troubled, even with the injuries and the adversity they had to deal with early. It was so impressive from the Sounders this week.
It was. I mean, what a team, what a performance over 2 legs. I mean, going down to Mexico down 2-0. I mean, you're in big trouble at that point, and you just hang around, right? You get a couple opportunities, somehow tie that game. And, they didn't even play all that bad down there. But they've done such a good roster. I mean, to lose 2 starters, 2 guys that are very good players, and not miss a beat really. You bring in a veteran and a 16-year-old, and it's just like both of them are, fine out there, doing great. And, I notice it when they bring on the center midfielder, the young kid, I see these other guys like, okay, they're on alert. Like, okay, we need to help this guy out, and he might make a mistake, but I'm going to be ready to, make up for it real quick. It's just got a real good sense of teamwork over there and good camaraderie. And obviously it's paying off because, every year they're in the battle for trophies.
And at the same time, Cap, they'll bring in a guy like Albert Rusnak as a DP signing. And, a lot of us were sitting there, Rusnak was available, and then all of a sudden Seattle signs Rusnak in the offseason. You're sitting there going, whoa. I mean, that was one of those signings that you sit there, you take a step back and take notice, and you get to see the dividends that a signing like that can have, bringing in a guy like Rusnak.
I loved the signing, and not just because of Rusnak and who he is as a player, but just to know, and that's where Garth is so good, the GM over there. He knows that this guy's had success in MLS, knows what it takes. There's not going to be any learning curve. Seattle's in a win mood right now. They've got all the pieces, so it's like why try and bring in somebody, spend a lot of money when you don't know how they're going to fit in, you don't know how they're going to adapt to MLS, right? They want to win right now. And this guy knows how to win in MLS. He knows how to have success. And it just makes perfect sense.
I feel like too often when we talk about building a team in this league, we get so excited about one way for every team. And if it's Philly or if it's Dallas, it's like they have to develop from within, and that's great. And if it's a big spending team, well, that's what they're going to do. They're going to bring in guys from the outside. If it's Colorado, it's going to be the guys from inside the league. Seattle's showing that if you think one way, it's not going to work. You have to be able to bring in a Nico Ladero, a Raul Ruidiaz, and an Albert Rusnak, and a Kellen Rowe, and those guys who know the league, and bring along those kids. You have to have all of it. And if you get too locked into just one way, you're probably going to be limited.
Definitely. Because there's no guarantee either side of it is going to, have success, right? You can't just depend on young kids. It's really difficult to do that. You can't just depend on DPs because then you've got a huge gap in your roster. They've just hit. And when you hit on DPs, especially not only get good players, but look at the work rate of Ladero and Rui Diaz. I mean, these guys work so hard on both sides of the ball. They do whatever is needed to have success. It's incredible. I mean, those guys are leaders. For those young players in Seattle, it's such good role models to look up to. They're set up for success. For the time being and in the future right now.
Then you look at a coach like a Brian Schmetzer, who, while yes, he has all of these DPs, and yes, you have the academy guys brought in, and yes, you have those veterans that you bring in like a Kellen Rowe that can be those pieces that fit. You've got to be the guy that can be there on the touchline that can mold this group together and have them go forward to get the goals and the accomplishments that they're chasing. When I mention Brian Schmetzer, what comes to mind for you?
Man, it's somebody that is underrated. I think just maybe because of the way he looks, he just looks like a average Joe kind of nerd. Like, he's not screaming a lot. You just think like, does he know what he's doing out there? And, I don't know. And, because, tactically, sometimes you look at Seattle and you're like, oh, there's nothing special there. Or, I don't know. And I think that's probably why he's underrated, but he shouldn't be because, even if, and I don't know him that well, and I've never really heard that much about him other than I do know that he's, a little bit lax off the field, a la Bruce Arena, where he gives guys more freedom. I know for sure in preseasons, these guys are, having meals on their own, doing these types of things. And, that translates over the season as well. And I don't know if there's something to that, right? Of, understanding the long process, the long game, giving guys freedom, that type of thing. But he's obviously able to galvanize that locker room, bring pieces together. And that's, the managing part of things rather than the coaching part. And he's obviously very good at that.
I think we get really, locked into the coaching part of it, the tactics and formations and subs. And we get hung up on that sometimes, but that managing part, and especially the managing of the individuals, I think it's essential in the game today, and maybe more so than it's ever been because of so many different situations you have, like this squad with, 30-plus-year-old veterans and 16-year-old kids, and they're playing next to one another, and you've got to have them all pushing in the same direction. Who's the best manager you played for in that sense about bringing a group together and developing the chemistry?
Here in MLS, Greg was.
Really?
Greg Berhalter. Yeah, I think that everyone loves playing for Greg. Most guys, right? Not everyone, because there's a couple guys that are on the outside that view things a little differently. But I do think that even those guys, he did a really good job of team chemistry, team building, things off the field, but also giving us our freedom. I think freedom is an undervalued aspect, right? I think that it's really difficult, especially for guys that are not used to it. Maybe South Americans are a little bit more used to like the rigidness of like, hey, this is what you have to wear. This is how you have to eat, when you have to eat. We do it all together, all that type of thing. But Americans are not as much, and probably some Europeans. So that's when the managing aspect comes into it. And you're right. It's super, super valuable, but Greg was very good at that. Number one, I think he had the respect of guys because on the field, he was so organized. He was so good tactically. So that helps in and of itself. But also he was just not one of those coaches where it was awkward to walk by, right? He could joke around. He could be around the guys. He enjoyed to be around the guys. He enjoyed to play 5v2 with everybody. And, you felt like you could kick him if you needed to. And, just little things like that where it was not that big a deal, where you have some coaches where it's like, oh shoot, I have to walk by the coach's office. I hope he doesn't stick his head out at the same time, because this is going to be an awkward conversation. It's little things like that. But he was very good.
When it comes to that notion of freedom, though, and I guess this is the mentoring question that I'll ask where we're talking about that. At the same time, the older players, the veterans, can sit there and be the guidepost for the younger players about navigating that notion of freedom. It's like, yes, you can go this far, but you can't go this far. And being that that early voice over their shoulders about sitting there going, okay, this is cool that you have this in this environment, but there's a delicate balance to it, and the veterans get to be a part of that for the younger players, though.
100%. That's a really good point. Yeah. I say freedom, but yeah, it's, contained freedom, of course. And there's a professionalism that is expected of you when you are being paid to play and at that level, no matter if you're 16 or if you're 36. The same thing is expected of you if you're 16 or 17, and knowing that, these guys might be going out for a drink, but, are you joining, when you're 17 years old? Are you trying to go, put yourself in that spot and deal with the consequences that could occur, little things like that where, and that's where you need good leaders and good veteran players to help guide that freedom. Right. Because, that's the easiest way to lose the freedom is to take advantage of it. And, I played in a really veteran locker room in New England my first few years. And back then it was a little bit different because guys not only had freedom, but took advantage, probably too far of that freedom sometimes. But if they did that, they still came in prepared the next day to train as hard as they could. Even if they got no sleep or 2 hours of sleep or bloodshot eyes or anything like that, right? They knew it didn't matter. They still trained like they were completely fresh. So they understood that. And so, as a younger guy, you see that. And, obviously I didn't quite do off the field what some of those guys enjoyed themselves doing, but you did get that idea of like, they might enjoy themselves, but when it comes time to train and take your job seriously, they surely did.
So I want to get into a little bit as we transition into Atlanta United, because I think the mental part of what's going on is really important with a situation where, you look back since the game in DC, and I feel like the team is playing at a higher level than they did in that match that they won, and they haven't been able to get a win in this. The Montreal trip, it's a tough one. I didn't think they played badly by any stretch. I thought they were the better team, but you get nothing to show for it. Have you been in a situation like that in a team where it feels like, 3, 4, 5 games of playing well, doing the things you're supposed to do, getting opportunities, but just not getting results? And what kind of a toll can it take on a group?
Yes. 2016 with the Crew. 2015, we went to MLS Cup and lost. Right. And then 2016, we returned a majority of the players and we should have had another very good team. We were a very good team and played good soccer and dominated a lot and we just didn't get results. Like all year we thought, okay, it's going to turn. Like we're still playing. Okay. It's okay. We can still make the playoffs. We can still make it. And then it was like 2 games left and we're like, shoot, we're not going to make the playoffs. And I still, to this day, don't know exactly why or can put my finger on it, because like you said, there was just tons of performances where it was like the performance was there, it was just the result wasn't, for whatever reason, right? You miss chances, the other team gets that one chance, and it just seemed like all year that happened to us. So definitely some of it is a mojo thing where you have to try and turn the mojo and turn the luck around and stay committed to how you play if it's bringing some success on the field. And some of it is up to the manager to try and turn things around, by switching guys up or changing things tactically if he thinks that needs to occur. Any way to try and change the luck, because it comes and goes, right? And it can come for whatever reason, but you need to get it on your side. Right now they don't have it.
How difficult is it to keep a loss from weighing you down so it doesn't, even though you may be playing well, just not getting a result? How difficult is it to keep losses from weighing you down so you can still focus and lock into the notion that, we're right there. All we have to do is have one thing go our way, or, a couple of things go our way. It's not, I don't think a lot of folks can necessarily understand that the pressure that's involved, even though things are going well. How do you keep from weighing it? How do you keep it from weighing you down?
Yeah, there's a fine balance, right, between having that sense of urgency, knowing that, okay, the season might be long and there's plenty of time to, increase points and get in good playoff positions, right? And I think Atlanta United is still probably in a playoff position right now. So yes, there's tons of time, but, having that sense of urgency of like, you can't get these points that are lost. You can't get them back. right? And you don't know what's going to happen in the future and what, whatever might happen down the line. So you do want to try and get these points now while you can, and continue to improve upon those performances and get points out of them. But at the same time, recognizing that, yes, the season is long. And Greg and I, one of the most important things we talk about is a mental curve image of like not riding a roller coaster up and down, where it's like you win a game and you're on the very top, or if you lose a game, you're at the very bottom of the valley, right? And how you want to try and find that baseline. And yeah, you're going to be above it and you're going to be below it when you lose, right? But you're not hitting rock bottom, and you're not going up and down, because then it's too much of a toll mentally and physically, and it just kills your confidence when you're on the bottom. So yes, bouncing back from performances, losses, even if it was a good performance, not getting the points, that's super important over the long run of the season.
So set pieces have been an issue. They've been an issue really from day one. I mean, the way the team's going to be constructed, it's not going to be a team that is built to dominate those situations. We know that. Half of the goals this year have come off of set piece situations that have been conceded. What, in your mind, can you do differently? I know they've mixed it up. They've done some man-to-man. They've done some zonal. They've done some different things with trying to kind of block guys off with runs. You've had a lot of turnover with personnel game to game, which does make it difficult in these situations. But what else can you do in this where there is, in some games, just a physical mismatch?
Yeah, that's going to happen where you have these physical mismatches. But I think that some of it is a mentality of just, right now, like you said, it's probably every set piece they're like, oh, shoot, we got to defend this right now. Like, God, is this going to be the one time they get a chance type thing? And when you're thinking like that, it's never good. So some of it is that. I'm sure they're training in a ton. But sometimes maybe it's trying to take and I know this sounds crazy, but you can overtrain something where you're all of a sudden it's just like a mental thing, like, oh my gosh, so important, right? Where sometimes you can go 6 games without giving up anything on set pieces, and the other team gets a corner, you don't even think about it. You're just like, all right, get in my spot, win the ball, that's it. So maybe it's some of that as well. I'm not sure how much they're training it or not, but again, it's just an area where guys need to step up. Maybe you can ask a little bit more of your goalie to come out and help out. If Bobby can dominate the area, somebody like Andre Blake does that really well, right? Where he can come out and be massive and help his guys out in the air when there are mismatches. And, I don't know if that's one of Bobby's strengths or not, but, if he can do a little bit more to help out. But otherwise, guys just need to step up and win one-on-one battles. A lot of the times, that's just what it is.
One thing I thought was interesting, the Nashville game, and Nashville, for their size, they're not great defending set pieces, but they talked about how what Gary Smith is elected to do is keep Zimmerman and I think Romney free. And you would think, you're going to have Walker on whoever the main target is on the other way. It's what a lot of teams will do. They keep him free to just go win the ball, and they have somebody else mark. I think it was Santos in the situation against Philly. Have you been in teams like that kind of split it up with a little bit of a half and half with zonal and man-to-man, and just how hard is that to manage?
Yeah, it's really challenging. I don't know which way I lean right now, because if you say, hey,
right,
we're going to strict man-to-man, right, then you have to worry about picks, right? Because one pick, and if there's not good communication of who's going where, right, somebody's completely free. But if you go complete zonal, then guys are getting free runs into the box, and if 2 guys are as equally good in the air, the guy that's getting the run and jump is going to beat the guy that's just standing there. That's just easy to know. So yeah, there's no really perfect setup. With Berhalter, we did a lot of like a 4-person in a zone, a 4-person kind of man marking, one on top of the box. That seemed to probably be the best scenario, where you had some markers and you mark maybe their 2 or 3 best players, leave the other guys, and hope the zone just goes and attacks the ball. But it does take training for sure. It's a different type of way to defend things, whether you're going from zone to man to man. So yeah, it's challenging because if you leave Walker in a zone, and you have somebody on the other team goes and literally just picks Walker, stands right in front of him, doesn't let him go attack the ball, then all of a sudden you're losing your best player in the air. So, there's no guaranteed way to have success on set pieces.
You mentioned communication, and I wanted to get into this with you as well. Obviously, with Bobby back there and not Brad, it's a different set of communication that has to come through. What's it like having a new voice behind you and trying to get adjusted to their cadence and their calls and all of these different ideas when you've got somebody different behind you in net?
Yeah, it can be a little, it's just something to get used to, right? I'm sure every corner kick, Brad would be yelling out the same few reminders to everybody, right? And Bobby's going to do things differently. He's going to have other reminders, other things he likes to say, or he's getting used to kind of where guys are, how we're marking, all these types of things. And I think that's where guys like Miles and other veterans on the back line, maybe Brooks, have to give the reminders that Brad would, or help out Bobby and not just worry about, yourself and what needs to occur, but like help out the other guys of like, hey, go here, you go there, 2 guys out, top of the box, little reminders that, some guys need every now and then.
One thing that is different too is Bobby comes from teams that haven't really played out of the back very much. And, historically he's around 22 passes a game, which is fairly on the low side now for possession teams. And he comes to Atlanta and that's an expected part of his game. It was better in Montreal, but, have you been in those situations where you're dealing with that adjustment of, I have a goalkeeper who I'm used to playing with, who I can trust. I know where to pass to him. I know where to set him up. And then you have that change to somebody who maybe just doesn't have as much experience in the role.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a real conundrum sometimes because you think, do you change the way you play and play a little bit safer, or do you just play normal and now it's up to him to adapt and get up to the play and how we want to play? And, some of that comes down to the relationship and how you view things out there on the field. Like, how quickly is Bobby picking these things up? Is he capable of doing it? Right. Because right now you're in a position where, you don't want to put him in a bad spot where, sometimes you play Brad one, sometimes I'd literally turn around and kick the ball, Brad. It didn't matter if it was in the air, on the ground, whatever, because he'll handle it. He'll get the ball, he'll make a decision. Right. Those types of things, maybe you're like, okay, I'd rather just kick it out of bounds right now. We can defend rather than put Bobby in an uncomfortable position, because, you want him to, number one, be focused on keeping the ball out of the net, right? Not shoot, I have to play 50 good passes here today. If that's not his strength, right? We talk a lot about playing to people's strengths, putting them in a position to have success. And of course, you're going to ask stuff of Bobby that maybe he's not completely comfortable with, but only to a certain degree, because you want him to have success. Because if he's not having success, the team is not going to have success. So there's for sure a balance there, but I would lean more towards not putting him in uncomfortable positions, changing the way I played a little bit, and going from there.
That's the way it felt in Montreal. He was more involved with the ball at his feet, but not some of the ones like you mentioned, where it just felt automatic. Like, you could play Brad, he's going to deal with it, he'll be fine. They were a little more maybe thoughtful about when they went to Bobby, and he handled it really well. His passing has been very good. He hasn't had any, big giveaways or anything like that in possession. So you have Chicago come into town, and they've struggled offensively. They've been good defensively up until fairly recently. They do get some sparks this week with Jairo Torres coming in from Atlas. They get Chris Mueller coming back into the league from Scotland. They need that offensive firepower, but for Atlanta, it feels like not a must-win game because it's early, but a must-win game for the vibe, for the mood to turn it around and get something to show for the good play that we've seen that hasn't gotten anything for a while.
Definitely. It's at a point right now where, from the outside, and obviously probably the inside would feel differently. I'd rather lose this game 4-3 than tie 0-0.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it right now.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because Wilfred Nancy last week in Montreal media, he basically said the same thing. He went even further, because, and they're on a winning streak, but he said, we're building the way that we play, and I'm happy with the development we've had from the beginning of the season to now. And if we play well and win, I'm happy. If we play well and lose to Atlanta, I'm still happy. And to have that said, like, I don't think with the conversation right now, like, you couldn't say that in Atlanta right now, even though it might be the truth.
Yeah, it could be. It could be for sure. And that's the thing. I think that everyone's focused right now on the attack, right? And how can we start to score goals, put the ball in the back of the net? And so, I hope that that's the main focus, right? I mean, let's be brutally honest. Chicago are not a good offensive team. The stats say so. The players say so. It just went. I mean, Mueller will definitely help that team. I don't even know if he's playing this weekend, but I would love for Atlanta United to get. If I were in control, I would put Hernandez on. I would push Brooks up, and I would play 1 number 6 and 2 number 10s, and get another. I'd put Brooks up there and have him get in behind and just play a little bit more attacking. Maybe put Moreno as a 10 and Araujo on the other wing, just to get. I know Brooks is sort of a defender, but he's honestly, when I watch games, he gets in behind more than a lot of players on Atlanta United. Either way, I just hope that we can try and get more offensive side of the ball, right? Take more chances, assume that we can shut down Chicago's attack with, 3-4 guys in the back holding it down, and playing solidly.
A little faster getting into the attacking half. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Exactly. Yeah. Get more speed on the field. Just get in behind a little bit more, less of, possession's great. Right. But can we get some faster attacks every now and then? And I know that, Gonzalo likes to have the possession, and that's great. But, we do need to get in the box, get the ball in the box, get behind them, create pressure on the back line and the goalkeeper, not just making them run side to side.
So, when you're looking at this, you mentioned Moreno, Araujo finally getting healthy, getting more minutes out there, starting as he did last time. You're getting all of the pieces finally back together that you were looking for offensively. Almada, Moreno, Araujo. It's starting to get back to where a lot of fans were looking, to have all these guys back together. And this could be a chance to have the end result that you're looking for with Chicago, with the ways that you're mentioning you'd approach it.
Yeah, you hope so. But, it won't be easy. Chicago's, if not the best, one of the best defensive teams in MLS right now, as far as goals conceded. So, they do something right on the defensive side of the ball, make it difficult for teams. I know their goalies played well, and you mentioned all these pieces, but, the number one piece still is not out there right now for Atlanta United. And we have not shown that we can replace him. And when he's not out there, produce goals or have a number 9 that can get anywhere close to his rate of scoring. So, those guys that you mentioned need to step up, and we need to, have those guys produce more goals, not just assists. But hopefully these guys can put in a good performance and, focus on the offensive side of the ball and breaking down Chicago.
Yeah, I think Chicago will probably sit fairly deep, so they'll get those opportunities to do it, and the runners in behind and the combinations out in front to then play the runner in behind. I think those are going to be keys. Last one for you up top. We've seen Ronaldo Cisneros here for a few matches. Dwyer had a great day in the Open Cup, but has been battling injury since. They're very different kinds of players. Which one do you think is the fit out of what you've seen for this team, or is it kind of riding the hot hand?
Yeah, I don't know either, honestly. I think you probably ride the hot hand. In a game with a team sitting deep like they probably will, I think I'd rather probably have Dwyer for this game, because I think he's a little better in the air and a presence in the box.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's fit. So Yeah, it might be game dependent, hot hand dependent type thing. It's you hope one of them. We know what Dom can do and what he can't do at this point in his career, and he's had success in this league. He knows how to score goals. I don't think we know yet fully what Ronaldo can do. At least I don't, and hopefully that he can get more comfortable and create more chances, and get his confidence up and score goals. If that happens, maybe he changes and things occur more for him. So hopefully he can have a coming out here soon, because we need the goals from him.
Saturday would be a good one for it. We'll see where this goes. We'll talk to you here soon. We'll talk to Greg next week. Everything going well with Beyond Goals?
Yeah, excellent. Yep, going really well. Talking to a club team today, so we're doing good. It's been great. We're connecting well. I was down in Atlanta last week for an event with Soccer on the Streets. That went great. On the up and up.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to keep spreading the word, and happy that you have some time for us on Fridays. We've really appreciated it. Thanks.
Likewise. I always enjoy talking footy, especially with you guys. So
awesome. We'll
enjoy
talk
the
soon.
weekend.
Have a good weekend. Michael Parkhurst. Make sure you're following Beyond Goals Mentoring on Instagram, BG Mentoring on Twitter, beyondgoalsmentoring.org. Check them out. A lot of great work they're doing around, whether it's club, whether it's the nonprofit side, whether it's the high schools. I felt like they talked to almost every high school team in the state of Georgia this season. It's super cool to see. I don't have your normal music, John, but you have to tell everybody about Eliminize. So you are going to get today Dance Pop.
Okay. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, QR code over my left shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, Eliminize service, odor-free, clean, fresh air, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Your Eliminize has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their facilities that much faster. The turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment. We like that these days. It's a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than our favorite masking agents under the sink, because when you take that masking agent, you spray it in the air, all it does is mask the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like Eliminize does with their proven scientific formula. Pricing is easy one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to make it a price that is affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to their website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from. So your full assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Nicely done, sir. We welcome in Mike Conti. How are you doing, Mike?
I am great, and I was just watching this Diego Ramirez goal on your Facebook. My goodness, what scenes. What a golazo. And then the scenes there, what a crowd that they had down there last night. Awesome. And
all of Whitfield County came to Macon for the game.
I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all. That's just so cool to see. So very, very cool to see. And like I said, you and Luke did an awesome job capturing the moment. It seems like there have been a ton of really, really good games this week at the state finals. And just really, really neat to see high school soccer in the state starting to really get the attention it deserves. You know, Georgia was in the spotlight for having more players per capita selected in the NFL draft last week than any other state. We've talked at times during the NBA draft at the large number of Georgia-based players, Atlanta-based players who get selected. But man, oh man, high school soccer in this state is ascending big time. And that was an awesome goal to win a state championship last night by Diego Ramirez. Great job.
Yeah, I didn't realize until watching it back, and when I first saw the clip, I thought that the audio had gotten out of sync. Like he hit the ball, and I was already yelling. Like
you called
it. I was already yelling, knowing that thing's hit the back of the net. It was crazy.
It was the camera angle was a little strange. It made it appear maybe it hung in the air just a little bit. But it was one of those. It reminded me a lot of Jeff's goal against Club America.
Yeah.
To be honest, it reminded me a lot of that, maybe a little further out. But it really did have that kind of feel to it. It's something that just kind of kept. It was on a rope, but it kept rising gradually, rising to a point where the goalkeeper was not at that. In that case, it was Memo Ochoa. Was not going to be able to make the save. So world-class goal in a well-played game in a state that is just producing phenomenal high school soccer right now. Great night last night.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, the games I've called, so I've had, of course, it feels like I'm calling every game from Whitfield County because I had the Dalton Academy, brand new school in A Public. They won their first state championship on Tuesday. I've got Dalton High School tonight trying to defend the state championship. Had Southeast and Northwest, but also on the girls' side. And this is, I think, as impressive as anything. Last night, Marist, of course, they win. It's their 11th state championship. We know the Marists and the St. Piuses and what they're going to do and love it and Pace. But it was Marist against Jefferson in the state championship. First time for Jefferson. And in the A Public, it's one of the best games I've called. It was Commerce and Social Circle.
Yep.
And both teams had players that you're just watching like, where did they come from? These aren't players who are playing at the, fancy, huge, giant clubs that you expect to see talent coming from. This is Social Circle, Georgia. This is Commerce, Georgia. And you've got some of the best girls that you'll find. And they were sophomores. Like, that's the thing, is it was the sophomores who were doing this. It's just amazing. And it's only going to continue to grow. And what we're getting is this level of play, these individual talents that are now, and I don't know if it's a little bit of the Atlanta United effect. I don't know if it's just more games on TV, better coaching across the board, which I'm sure is a huge part of it. But you're also in these games, at least in these state championships, and John and I saw it when we did games all over the state this year. You're getting the fans out at these games. You're getting atmosphere. You're getting, chants, and it feels big. It's so special right now what's going on at that level across the state, and there's so much more room for it to grow. I'm just blessed to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I think it's a real credit to the coaches across the state at the high school level and below, really. Starting at the youth level in a lot of these communities, you have some coaches that are just doing an amazing job right now for very little, if any, compensation. Doing a great job recruiting players to play the game, helping them get better, and making it a worthwhile experience. And when you talk about worthwhile experiences, what you saw last night in Macon, I mean, that's a moment that young man, he's never going to forget that. No matter where he goes in his soccer career from here, he'll never forget that moment. And I think a lot of people who were there at that match last night will never forget that moment either. So awesome to see. Thank you for sharing. Because it was that was a really cool way to get my day going this morning, to see something like
me screaming at you. That's always a good way.
It was a great goal. I mean, look, talk about that. If people are always like, you scream too much, you get too excited, rabble. Like, because it's an emotional game, and you feel emotions when you see things like that. Come on.
Well, and then there's another picture that's been floating around, and it's the one that Jason and I talked about in the first hour, where you had folks at the park at the Burr Performing Arts Center watching the match in basically like a field, like an amphitheater setting there in Dalton.
I've had people say that they had about 1,000 people at a viewing party for this game in downtown Dalton last night.
That's so cool. God, I love hearing that. That is so awesome. Wow. I mean, that gives me goosebumps to
Yeah.
hear something like that. That is so, so cool.
Love to see things like this.
Yeah, and I want to see it more. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, they obviously have a very special thing going up in Dalton. They obviously have some special things going on in South Georgia.
Gainesville,
Vidalia,
Johnson,
Statesboro.
Johnson got the win last night too. They
Yeah.
won a state championship, and that's
Yeah.
another pocket that you go to a game at Johnson.
Oh,
And we did Johnson and Dalton this year, and you go to a game there, I'll put that atmosphere up against anything. It is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, soccer in the South. What do you know? How about that?
It's crazy.
Who would have thought?
It's crazy. Well, we'll hope that it's not too crazy, except for some golazos on Saturday at the Benz with Chicago coming to town. It's going to be a weird one all across the board because Chicago's added a couple pieces. Their attack has not coalesced this season, but they add a couple attacking pieces. And, how long does that take? Do we see Torres? Do we see Mueller off the bench? Do we see them in the game day? Both are fit. Both have been, playing in their previous clubs, but both have only been in Chicago for a week minimum. Mueller might get a training session in before he makes the trip, if he makes the trip. Atlanta, we just had the conversation with Parkey. I mean, it's the same conversation we've been having for feels like about a month. The performances have been good. The results have not been good. The goals have also been hard to come by on the Atlanta side. And this is a game with one team that I think came into the season with bigger expectations than the other, but both teams are kind of in the same situation in that they're struggling to get goals to change games.
Yeah, what's amazing about Chicago is they've played 9 matches. They have results in 6 of them. And how many goals have they scored on the year? 5?
5.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? And I'll tell you how you explain it. Chicago has one of the best shot-stopping goalkeepers in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And that scares me a lot when you talk about Atlanta United and the frustration that they have suffered just putting the ball in the back of the net, despite, all the statistical metrics being where they need to be with shot-creating actions, key passes, chances created, big chances, all of that. Now, you've done everything in the buildup that you should be doing to create these chances, and now you've got to face Gaga Slonina, and it just feels like really kind of lousy timing. Now, all that being said, Chicago has also struggled to score goals, and they had 2 red cards on Saturday, so they're going to be patchwork. I do think Jairo Torres is playing. I'm a little less sure about Mueller.
I wouldn't be shocked if Torres started. I think Mueller's in the game day, but I don't think he starts.
Yeah, and I don't want to see Mueller, to be totally honest with you. Someone who has scored goals at Mercedes-Benz Stadium before.
If it's the Mueller who finished in Orlando, I'll take it. If it's the Mueller from the year before, I don't want to see it. And we just don't know which Chris Mueller you're going to see because that move to Scotland, we talked about it when he was announced as coming back. It's almost like he was in Scotland before he left Orlando because his performances at the end of his time in Orlando after he'd done the pre-deal to go to Hibs, they were bad. He was out of the rotation in Orlando pretty much at the end. And then he didn't do well in Scotland. They had a coaching change that you never know. That stuff can happen. But does he come back, kind of in a weird headspace because of all the transitions, or does he come back incredibly ticked off and wanting to prove himself? We don't know yet.
Either. It could be either, but then, he has no chemistry whatsoever with who he's playing with. So,
good point.
Real balancing act for Ezra Hendrickson. And it's an interesting coaching matchup, too, because you have 2 head coaches who are kind of from similar pedigrees in that they were both very highly respected MLS assistants for successful clubs. So that, I think, will be a fun matchup as well. And Mueller being a potential second-half chess piece, I think it will be interesting to see how Hendrickson and Pineda kind of react to each other's changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting match. I do agree with Michael Parkhurst and what he said about Dwyer. And I get a pretty good feeling that Dwyer is going to be available for this match.
I think so, too.
In that he has reportedly been training. His status on the injury report did not change. He's still listed as questionable, But remember, his deal was it was knee soreness coming from the Open Cup match against Chattanooga, which, really boils down to heavy usage.
Yeah.
When he had not been used so heavily in the last 2 years. So you would think now enough time has passed where he should be beyond that and should be able to play. Dwyer, I think, does give you a new wrinkle in the air against Chicago. That could
You're going to
help.
sit back more. There's just not as much space for Cisneros to get in behind. And I think Dwyer's shown an ability to find not space. And when we talk about space, it depends, because in this case, if the space is condensed and Chicago's deeper, there's not the space behind the back line. That's where Cisneros, I think, finds space really well. What Dwyer does well is if the back line's condensed, it's crowded in the 18. He's good at finding a couple steps, like 3 steps, like step this way and then drop back to create the angle for the header. That kind of stuff that Cisneros maybe hasn't picked up as much because of the upbringing, the way he's played. Dwyer, to win those balls in the air, which he's so good at, he's not going to go up with a 6'4" center back and win it. But if he can get you leaning one way and drop off the other way, he can win that header and put it in the back of the net. He's so good at that.
Yeah, precisely. So that's a different element. And look, I mean, there is the possibility as well, if the match develops in a certain way, where it could be Dwyer and Cisneros up top.
Absolutely could be. They could play together.
If you need to find something at the end. So a lot of different options. It's going to be a fascinating match. And sometimes when you have two teams that are just, for whatever reason, struggling to score goals, and I think these teams struggle to score for different reasons.
Yes.
I think one of it's just misfortune. I think the other is a team that's still trying to find the way it wants to play, and that's Chicago. But sometimes when you have teams that are just in these goal-scoring ruts, when they play each other, a weird thing can happen, and suddenly you can get a 4-3. I don't think
it turns into a 7-6er, right, Mike?
Yeah, I don't think you get that in a match with Gaga Slonina. I just don't. I don't see that.
Probably
His
not.
shot stopping ability is really good. So I don't see it. But look, I remember in 2019 we went up to Chicago, and Chicago was having a ton of difficulty scoring goals. And they hit Atlanta United for 5 in the first half. I want to say there was a red card.
There was.
But they hit Atlanta United for 5 in the first half. I mean, it does happen.
I've tried to block that game out, Mike.
Yeah. It was fortunately kind of an outlier performance for that.
Yeah,
especially defensively for that 2019 team. That was a total outlier performance.
You want some fascinating numbers for this matchup?
Sure.
So the home team has won 8 of the 9 all-time MLS meetings between Atlanta and Chicago, including the last 6 in a row.
MLS meetings. But there was the Open Cup game in 2018 where they came in here and played very, very negatively.
Mm-hmm. There was. Bastian Schweinsteiger kicked everything that moved and got away with it.
Yes. And got it. Yeah. And the, NISA referee that they had doing that game just wouldn't blow his whistle.
In MLS play, the Fire have never gotten a result in Atlanta. 11-2 is the combined scoring. Now, Atlanta United, yes, we know where things are. Yes, we know it was a draw last time at home, but 11 straight without a loss at home. They've only had 2 longer streaks in their history.
Yeah, and by the way, your home draws this year, you've had good enough performances to win both of those.
Yeah. 7 wins out of those 11, 4 draws. But 11 in a row. They had a 15-game unbeaten run that crossed over from 18 to 19, and a 12 straight in May to September of 17, unbeaten at home.
Yeah.
Fire.
I don't want a result. I want to win.
I do too.
This is a match you should be able to win. Your 3 home matches this month, you should be able to win. I think your 2 road matches are going to be incredibly difficult. But your 3 road matches, look, I mean, even if you're still trying to figure things out from an injury standpoint, even if you're still trying to get some people comfortable, you've got to take care of business at home.
Got to win your home games.
Yeah, and that starts this Saturday. So
here's the other number that I found interesting. Marcelino Moreno, he got the goal in Montreal. 21 goal involvements for Moreno since joining the team. 13 goals, 8 assists. More than anybody else in the team since he debuted in October of 2020. He's been the most involved in Atlanta United goals in an Atlanta United kit since joining the team. He's critical. And I mean, we've had this conversation. We know how important he is. He's very important. And Parky talked about, wanting to see the team really commit to the attack. I think Santiago Sosa's availability is going to be a big factor in how committed they could be. Could you see a situation this season where a midfield trio in one of these games is Sosa with Moreno and Almada in that role? I didn't think you could consistently early on when Almada's first getting here, and we know what Marcelino brings to the team. The more that I've seen of Almada and how that could fit, I think there's times where you could go there. I don't know if you can go there for long stretches, because teams could maybe outmuscle you a little bit in the midfield. But in a game like this, if a team's going to sit back more, could you play those three? And can Almada and or Moreno give you enough defensively to make it work? If you're going to control the game, absolutely they could. Yeah. And that makes an interesting situation. It gets Marcelino into some very interesting spots on the field where he can be dangerous.
Yeah. And I expect the match is going to play out that way. I think Chicago is very likely going to concede possession.
I think so.
And if that's the case, then you're right. That opportunity does open up. Chicago's going to play in a style that I think is going to play into the way Atlanta United wants to play.
I think so.
Can they execute? That's been the question all year. But they're going to have an opportunity to dictate their style. Now, look, that doesn't always translate to attractive soccer and favorable results. I remember a match in 2019 where Colorado came in here, and I want to say it was like 80-20, the possession Atlanta United, but Colorado put everyone behind the ball. And it took a very, very, very late breakthrough in an ugly game against a not very good Colorado team to win. So that can get frustrating too. And I think whatever we do to assess the outcome of the match on Monday, I've seen some comments on the Twitch pitch about this, and I agree with it. I do think you have to consider the context with which the match was played.
Context? What?
Yeah, well,
depth of information and details, Mike. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. Now, again, what you do not want to do tomorrow. Don't want to do it. Don't do it. Let's give up a goal in the first 10 minutes.
No.
Don't do that.
Goal early.
Do not do that. I can't say don't give up a corner in the first 10 minutes because I think that's unrealistic. No. I can't say don't commit a foul in your defensive third in the first 10 minutes because I don't think that's realistic. But please try not to. Because if Chicago were to get something early on the board, it's going to be gross. It is going to be gross. They will put everyone behind the ball, and it's going to be frustration city, and I don't want to see it. So, if Atlanta can get an early goal or two, could be goalie 8 at a time. Because then Chicago's going to have to do something they're not comfortable doing. And that's trying to open up and chase things. And, Chicago, because of Slonina and because of the way they've defended, they really, even in their 3 losses this year, they haven't really had to do that. So, the game they lost to Red Bulls on Saturday, it was a penalty right at the depth where they were playing with 9 men.
Yeah, I think it was the Minnesota game where they gave up 3 goals in like 16 minutes, and it all kind of fell apart really quickly for them. And if you're Atlanta United and you see something like that, you do have a lot of good feeling coming into a game, because we've seen Atlanta United have those moments where I think, again, the play has been very good this season, the quality of play, but you have those moments where it goes up another level. And it feels like, Almada is ripping shots from distance that are narrowly missing. The forwards getting opportunities. Araujo's going 1v1. Lennon's putting in a dangerous cross, and it happens in a flurry. And when you have a team that has shown already that they've given up, they haven't given up a lot of goals, but they've given up goals in bunches at times, you want to exploit that in a
precisely.
Big way.
Yeah, precisely. So, again, I hope that the support is robust tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. First home match in a couple weeks. Should be a really nice spring weekend to come on out. The support needs to be robust. I see what Shiva says. Even if you score first, you can't relax. That is absolutely accurate.
Yeah, nobody said
absolutely.
that.
I'm not suggesting that at all.
I'm actually saying the opposite. You score one, you need to go get the second and the third.
Right.
Because Chicago's shown you can do that.
Precisely. I see the comment on the Twitch pitch. It's Mother's Day weekend. Expect a small crowd as a result. I don't believe that. Mother's Day is Sunday. I shouldn't affect it. But the support needs to be there. I think the guys need to hear it.
Yeah, I don't care about the numbers as much, honestly. I mean, it'll be a good number. I'm not worried about that. I'm not getting hung up on it. I'm not counting things. What I want is volume. That's what I'm hoping is volume, is consistent volume. And you can have that with whatever number you want to put in the seats, but it's volume, and it's volume throughout, and it's volume at times when it's a struggle, because Chicago's a good defensive team. If they're making it difficult, that's when the volume needs to be even louder at times, because the guys do need to hear it. You're dead on about that.
Yeah, and I think the volume's been turned up a little bit this week in ways that have not been productive. So, I think a little bit of positive energy would be a good thing for this team.
Yeah.
Can I address some of the Twitch pitch comments about the Mulroney trade really quick before I go?
Yeah, if you want to, go for it. Have fun.
Do we really honestly believe that the front office is consciously making decisions to prevent the team from making the playoffs?
No, that's one of the most absurd things that doesn't make any sense in this league. No, I'm sorry. Okay. It's not true.
All right. I don't believe that either. That makes
no sense.
Can we have an honest discussion here about Jake Mulroney?
Yes.
Is Jake Mulroney going to start consistently on a team that has Thiago Almada, Luis Araujo, and Caleb Wiley?
Has he this year?
He has not this year. And is he going to?
No, he wasn't going to get more starts. He hasn't already. No. He's been available. Wiley started more. Wiley's been better overall, and Wiley's going to get more time.
Yes,
it's just that's and Araujo's back.
You cannot. I'm sorry. I feel this very strongly. You cannot be playing Jake Mulroney over Caleb Wiley. You can't.
Not from what we've seen this year.
No. So, all right. Let's look at the realistic situation that Mulroney is in right now on this roster. Let's look at the fact that you can get a pretty decent amount of allocation money. And I honestly disagree with some of the tweets out there that seem to be overvaluing Jake Mulroney.
Yeah. Sorry.
200.
I like Jake a lot.
I like Jake too. We all like him as a person.
He's a good dude. He's a nice player. Yes. He can fit into a good system, but he is surplus to needs here, and even in the depth role, he's surplus to needs. Out of players who have started for Atlanta United this season, Jake Mulroney is fourth from the bottom in minutes played out of players who have started, and Araujo is going to pass him this week. Dwyer would have passed him if he hadn't had the injuries, and Franco Ibarra, I think, would have played more if he hadn't had injuries. So
I agree.
That's the reality of where he is in this group.
So surplus to needs, and I think that's a really, really good phrase. Every other team in the league is aware of the surplus to needs situation with Atlanta United, which is going to affect the amount of leverage Atlanta United has when they name an asking price for Jake Mulroney. I think $275,000 in GAM is pretty decent. All right.
It is, when you look at the
What
market.
now here's the other thing it does. Now you have opened up another roster spot. Along with the 2 roster spots, not salary relief, but spots that you opened up when you put 3 players on season-ending injury. Okay, you got salary relief on 1. You have 2 other spots that came from that, and now you have another spot that came from Mulroney.
I'm glad you mentioned it that way, Mike. That's really important because you have those spots, you have those season-ending injuries, but you don't get full cap relief for it. And yeah, you're keeping some of his salary on your books, but you're getting GAM, and you can use that in a different way. It's not that big of a deal either way. It's a wash, and you got more GAM coming. But if it's about replacing the guys that are out for the rest of the year, you can't replace them like for like in salary.
Right.
You had to get more allocation money to work with to do it. So
Thank you.
it's just it's just the reality of the situation here. And I'm sorry, but creating a narrative that trading away a player who possibly by the end of the weekend will be last in minutes played of anyone who started for an Atlanta United game this season, trading that player away, the narrative that doing that is punting on the season or giving up on the season or not wanting to make the playoffs or any of those things is just thoroughly false.
And I want to take it a step further. When does the summer transfer window open?
July. I don't have the date in front of me, but
I think it's
first
around
or
the
second
4th
week
of July, right?
Yeah.
Around
it's in the
4th
single digits in July. I know that much.
Okay, now correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that around the time that Joseph Martinez should be back with this team?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would it have not been more prudent for Atlanta United? Because I see what people are saying on the Twitch pitch. Well, all right, you can do this, but then you should have made another move this spring to bring in a quote-unquote impact player.
Not if the right one was there, and it's not. You don't have impact money.
And not only that, don't you think it would be more prudent to maybe allow Joseph Martinez a couple weeks to show you what the reality of his situation is before making a decision on how you're going to proceed with Joseph?
Yeah,
because how you proceed there could absolutely dictate what you have to do in the summer window.
Yeah.
I see all the comments about Hop.
You need the empirical evidence.
You weren't getting Hoppy right now. Look, folks. We went through this on this week, and I'm sorry. You can want Matthew Hoppy right now. You can demand a Matthew Hoppy right now. You think the team didn't want to get Matthew Hoppy as soon as they could get him? If they're going to get him, of course they would. Like, don't fall for narratives. Don't create myths. They would get him right now if they could as a U22 initiative player, and with this extra allocation money, yeah, it probably actually all syncs up pretty nicely, doesn't it?
Yes.
Mallorca's in a relegation fight. They're not giving anybody up. They're not playing him, sure. But what if they have an injury in their last 4 games? We went through the exact scenario this week. And I know people listen to what we're talking about from time to time. If they have an injury in their last 4 games and they need to turn to Hoppy, they can't let him go. They might let him go in the summer.
Yes.
But they can't let him go now. So the idea that, like, oh, well, you don't want to go get Hoppy, like, you're creating a storyline that makes no sense in reality. And I know it's because there are people who believe rhetoric, believe narratives, believe articles, believe things that are out there and have twisted them to run to create its own fantasy world. But in this situation specifically, you're really working too hard to try to find something, because Matthew Hoppy was not going to be available unless Mallorca just completely gave up on him.
Right.
They need somebody right now as a reserve, probably a reserve to a reserve. They're not giving him up. You now have the allocation money, I am assuming, and maybe you needed a little bit to make this happen, to do it in July at that stage. And as a U22 initiative player, good business. Bring him in then, and you'll have a better sense of what his role will be, because you'll have a better sense of where Joseph will be.
And that's the point. That's the point. Again, I do understand that when you have an outgoing in a window and you don't have an incoming, that can make some fans feel a little bit queasy. but Joseph is the variable in all of this. How would you feel if they made a move in this window that basically assigned Joseph to the bench or worse for the rest of this season without knowing what type of player Joseph's going to be when he comes back from this procedure? You'd probably disagree with it.
Yeah.
But I think Joseph is the wild card, and this is why they proceeded the way they did. Now, from a roster room standpoint, they're going to have a ton of flexibility come early July, which
you're going to have as much as you can with the situation.
Yeah. It's a good position to be in. Now, someone on the Twitch pitch, I think it might have been Tom Russo. Someone on the Twitch pitch made a comment that I was nodding along with, that there is a sentimentality that I think we have when it comes to players outgoing.
Sure.
That's totally, absolutely fine and understandable. In fact, I love that.
That's not what's happening in this conversation, though. And that's the issue. Is I love it too. I'm right there with you, but the reaction to this move does not match the honest level of importance of the move, and it's really disappointing to see because let's go sentimental with it. Let's go sentimental. Would you rather have Jake Mulroney be the last guy off the bench in Atlanta and not play? If you like Jake,
great point.
Or would you rather have him go somewhere where he might be able to play and be in a better spot in his career? If we're going to play that card, let's play the card, because he's not going to play a ton here. It's not happening. He's not starting over Araujo, Almada, Moreno. Wiley's already pushed his way into that conversation. Wolf started a lot early on. It's not going to happen. It's not going to change. It's just not. So if it's about what's good for Jake Mulroney, what's good for him is to play.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And to go into a situation where maybe he's higher up the depth chart on the wing. Maybe he gives them something different. I don't want to see him play for Orlando either, but I don't want Jake to be miserable sitting on the bench. So if we're going to play cards, that's the card that I'm going to play right there, because I don't want to see Jake ride the bench for the rest of his career. Go get a chance to play. It's not going to happen here. That's okay. That's okay. He had some brilliant moments in Atlanta United. He had some great late game heroics. He's going to be remembered. These are good things.
It reminds me a lot, Jason and John, of the reaction to the John Gallagher thing last year. Why are you giving up on John Gallagher? And in reality, that was a move where everyone was a winner. John Gallagher got to go to Austin, play a ton.
Yeah.
A ton more than he would have played here. And it gave Atlanta United the room to ultimately address what they wanted to address. I mean, it took until the summer, but they did manage to bring in Araujo. It created the room where they could play Barco consistently. Like, again, it's a two-way street. You have to do well by the player, because everyone else in the player pool outside of Atlanta United is going to notice how you treat these players.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why do all the players say they want to come to Atlanta, by the way?
And by the way, that's not just speculation. That's the survey that we saw by the Players Association. Like that's not just speculation. Look, you are sending, I think, a message to everyone else who's thinking about coming to play for Atlanta United that they're going to do whatever they have
solid.
Right. They are not going to do anything petty. And let's even go back further. I know, we're talking about sentimentality. Darlington Nagbe wanted to be traded. Atlanta United did not have to do that. They did not. They had another year contractually with him. They could have held on to him, and he could have been here and unhappy, and they traded him. They did right by the player. It was good business for the club as well. Made quite a bit of money in doing it.
You shouldn't make bad business for the club by doing right by the player. You can do both.
You can do both. And I think this is another example of it. So, Gressel, kind of same thing. Gressel wanted an amount of money that the club did not see eye to eye with him on. They could have made that a lot more difficult for Julian Gressel. They did not. They moved him to a place where he is playing and making the amount of money that he wants to make. So, nothing about the way this club does business is not going to be friendly to the player if there is an opportunity for him to play more and make more money elsewhere. And I think the point you're making, Jason, is absolutely correct. I mean, if you truly care about Jake Mulroney as a player and you want to see him have the opportunity to play more, I'm sorry, it was not going to happen here.
Mm-mm.
I mean, at one point last year, Mikhail Chol was playing over Jake Mulroney. And, Chol, when he comes back from his injury, and I don't know what the timetable is on that, maybe he's someone rated a little bit higher right now than Mulroney to the technical staff. So I understand, because, again, this is a very passionate fan base, that there are going to be strong reactions anytime you make a trade, especially a trade to that team down there. I do get it. I totally get it. I want to offer my feedback that I think I think maybe the way that the collective is rating Mulroney is not square with how Mulroney maybe should be rated. And again, it's not eye test. It's based on statistics.
Oh, frankly, I don't think he was rated that way until he was traded. And that's the issue I have with it. Is this is not about Jake Mulroney, in my opinion, because people were not clamoring for Jake Mulroney to start. That was, if they were, I missed it. And look, it's definitely possible, but I did not see that. It's when he's traded, it's an indictment on the front office because of some people's feelings about the front office. And we know where that comes from. We know where that's based on. And I think a lot of it's unfair. And I think it bleeds over into coloring moves like this, that it's kind of a no-brainer move, honestly.
And one more thing. This will be my parting remark.
All good.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, all good.
We're on at 5:30 tomorrow, Sirius XM 157, 92.9, Odyssey app, Atlanta United app, all that. I want to go back to what kind of got me on the soapbox, the comment that apparently the season's being punted, or that the front office is not trying.
I can't disagree more strongly with that.
Well, and here's why I disagree strongly on that. Look at the number of moves that they are attempting to make right now. They could do what the Hawks did. They could do what the Atlanta Hawks did. We made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. We're going to stand pat. We like our team. Yeah, the rest of the Eastern Conference is upgrading. We don't need to. We like our team. That was a mistake, an admitted mistake by the owner and the general manager. Atlanta United has never been a stand pat club, ever. Have they made the right move 100% of the time? No. Absolutely. But no one does.
Yeah, show me one that does. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whichever one does, hire everyone from there. It's not possible. You're going to make mistakes, but, this notion that they're not trying, and the one that really gets me is they needed a quote-unquote impact player in this window. You have impact players right now. For some reason, odd reason, there's this force field in front of the net right now, but you have impact players right now. I don't know what bringing in another impact player to sit on the bench would necessarily do for you.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's a move that I think gives you more flexibility than you had before the move, and we will see how they use it in the July window when you get to that point, and it doesn't hurt the team right now, because I think Caleb Wiley is going to be the player that Jake Mulroney has been in terms of a winger off the bench. And you have Luis Araujo starting now, and you're going to get Mikhail Chol back at some point, you hope. So
sorry to interrupt. This is the rhetorical question I want to leave you guys on.
Okay.
Does anyone on the Twitch pitch, John, Jason, anyone watching, does anyone out there believe that Jake Mulroney's ceiling is higher than Caleb Wiley's?
No, and I'm not insulting Jake Mulroney by any stretch.
No, not at all. But Caleb Wiley's 17 years old.
Yeah,
he's been
impactful this season.
Yeah.
How many goals do they each have this season?
The same amount.
Yeah,
the same amount.
That's what it is.
I love the discussion, by the way, and I hope it didn't sound like I was, yelling at anyone or shouting anyone down. I love the discussion. I love the debate. I think it's been respectful. I love the debate. I disagree with the argument presented that somehow they aren't trying or they're punting on the season. I really do disagree with that. But I think this has been a good discussion about how Mulroney maybe should be properly valued and what his opportunities were here in Atlanta compared to what they could be in Orlando. I'd love to see him thrive down there, just not against us.
I would too. 32 games a year, I'd be good with it.
Yep.
Be good with it. All right, Mike, see you at the Benz tomorrow.
Can't
I got
wait.
2 more games to call. Hopefully I have a voice by tomorrow.
Yeah, again, you and Luke, great job, and I'll be watching today.
Yeah, Luke's doing the heavy lifting today, so I'll just be in the background going, ooh. We'll be in good shape.
Guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Good, Mike.
All right, let's get Jarrett back in just a second and do the whip around. The last thing I want to say about it is I hope that people understand that, we do have strong opinions about all of this. And as I feel like I have to say many, many times, because if I disagree with someone on the Twitch pitch, it's either I'm bullying or whatever, or I don't know what it is anymore. I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. I'm going to be clear in how I tell you that. And I'm going to be very clear in how I got to that feeling. And that's my job, right? That's what I do. That's what hopefully people, listen to this show for. Because I'm not just making stuff up. I didn't just show up after, playing the FIFA video game or coaching in youth or playing high school ball. I've worked in the game at all levels for 2 decades, and I try to learn more about it every single day. And building a roster is not easy, but I do have feelings on how it's been built. I've actually helped put together teams lower levels, but there is a component to looking at the holistic side of the roster. And when you have somebody who probably wants more playing time than they're getting, that can be a tough situation to deal with within a team. And sometimes the best thing is for that player to go elsewhere to play more. And then if you can get assets back, great. But I hope that people respect that we are allowed to have our opinions too. And we do have a microphone, and that's just the nature of it. So where there's disagreement, nobody's trying to silence other opinions. It's just, there's only so many microphones on this show to go around. And that's what it is. I have made a concerted effort from day one of doing soccer down here to interact with people. You don't see other broadcast teams do what Mike and I do on a regular basis, what I do on a regular basis, in interacting with differing opinions. And I think at times it hurts me, honestly. It's a detriment to me because I do interact all the time, and people disagree, and they get to tell me they disagree, and they get to say that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm only saying it because I call games for the team, or whatever other explanation they want to throw, instead of respecting that I have my own opinion and respecting that it's a thought out opinion. So I will try to interact as much as I can, but I'm also asking for some respect for the work that I put in, and asking for some respect in the way that I do interact, because there's not another broadcast team in Atlanta, or really in any sports in the region, college included, that do what this does and have constantly tried to take questions and conversations with the audience. It's not always easy. It's hard sometimes. I've felt attacked. I've felt insulted. I've felt disrespected. But I try to do it because I think it's important. But I hope that people can show me some respect in that if I have a different opinion from you, accept that it's a different opinion without taking it somewhere else. Because I can't have a conversation when it's that way. And we're going to try to have conversations on this show and interaction, but it can't be constantly, hey, you, the guy who works in the game and does what you do and all that, you're always wrong about the team because they lost. But when they win, okay, we're not going to yell at you. But when they lose, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It can't be that way. It's not fair to me. And I have tried to be very, very open with everybody about how it makes me feel at times, because I shouldn't have to have a thick skin to get yelled at from time to time. I shouldn't have to not look at Twitter after a loss. I shouldn't immediately think after a loss, oh boy, this is going to be fun. Those shouldn't be the thoughts, but they are, and they're real. And I'm trying to give you a glimpse of that, because I hope that we can create an environment here where differing opinions can be respected, but they can also be debated. Because I've had people say to me that, well, we've said, talking about Twitter and or talking about whatever, we say this and he disagrees and he should listen to us. Yeah, I listen. But I do put in a lot of work into what I do, and I might come at it from a different perspective. Maybe sometimes a more experienced one, maybe sometimes a more informed one, whatever. So it might lead me to a different place. I hope that's respected. And I hope that the work that we put in on this show gets respected, because we do it for the overall bulk of the listener base. There is a large listener base that doesn't interact on the Twitch pitch, that doesn't do that. We want to have these conversations, but at times it gets really hard to. And when it gets snippy about some of the things that get said, when I might disagree or Mike might disagree, and it gets into personal attacks and stuff, it really gets hard to do it. And I don't want that to change. But I do feel like there needs to be a little more respect at times for the bigger picture, rather than following the conventional narrative or following a narrative that has been created elsewhere and honestly hasn't always been proven to be true. And it's just sometimes got to open the eyes a little bit, and we'll see where it goes. But I think the reaction to this Jake Mulroney trade has been one of the most over the top reactions I've seen to a move. It doesn't fit the importance of the move. It doesn't fit what it is. So I hope maybe everybody can take a step back and consider that, because I don't think Jake Mulroney, no offense to Jake, I like Jake's game, but no offense here, Jake Mulroney was not going to be the missing piece to Atlanta United winning the MLS Cup. And the allocation money that you get for a player who is not going to be a significant factor the rest of the way might help you get a piece that will be more impactful. So that's the way I see it. If that's being rude to anybody, I'm very sorry for that, but I'm also not going to apologize for using my brain and looking at things and coming up with my own opinions and getting there. So that's where we're at. Let's get into the MLS Whiparound. Jarrett Smith, I don't have your music. That's
somehow worse.
Yeah, I don't even know what it was. I just made it up.
Well, also you and John were in different. I think y'all were operating in different
it was
time signatures, and
it was around.
Definitely different beats per measure. I mean,
yeah, like that's new, Jarrett. You should know that by now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring a metronome next time.
Please do. We probably need it. All right, let's get into the whip around, because I'm probably going to get kicked out of my hotel room. All right. I tried to a minute ago. Let's try to move this quickly. So, John, you've got the numbers on the game.
Don't do that here.
I do, sir.
Thank you. Charlotte hosting Miami. First game, 3:30 Saturday. Charlotte, 1 point out of 3 games on the road. They have won 3 straight at home. 9 of their 10 points at home. Miami had a 3-game winning streak. That ended at New England. They only scored 8 games in their last 18 away from home. Good grief. The first goal has decided each of the 9 games. There was a goal for Charlotte this season. When they scored first, they won. When they conceded first, they lost. Pretty simple right there. What are the numbers for Charlotte and Miami?
Charlotte a -156. Your draws a +293. Enter Miami a +417.
Ooh. That Miami number is really tempting, but I'm taking Charlotte at home.
Yep.
Charlotte at home. I feel like I came across as like petty and being mean when I was critical of Miami after they beat Atlanta. I felt like they kind of made me feel. I felt a little vindicated when they went to New England and got slapped around a bit. Also, if Campagna is actually hurt, they're in a bad way.
Oh yeah, that's a huge problem. That's the biggest issue here. John?
Yeah, I've got Charlotte at home as well.
Okay. Montreal, Orlando, 4:00 Saturday. Orlando, they've won 5 of their last 7 against the former and maybe once again Montreal Impact. Maybe, possibly, rumored, allegedly, including a win at the knockout stages of the MLS is Back tournament 2020. Orlando, clean sheets in all 5 of those wins as well. Oof. Montreal, 6 straight unbeaten in MLS play, 7 straight unbeaten in all competitions. This is the 4th time they've done 6 unbeaten in MLS play ever. Orlando hasn't lost on the road. Now, we've talked about the Red Bulls being so good on the road. Orlando, 2 wins, 2 draws on the road. It's the longest Orlando has gone into a season without losing on the road. Kai Kamara, he's got 9 goals against Orlando. There's only one player who has scored more goals against Orlando in MLS history. Who is it, Jarrett Smith?
Joseph Martinez?
No.
Oh.
Who is it, John Nelson?
Oh, wow.
Pick one, quick.
Because I was going to say Joseph. He took my answer.
Pick somebody else.
Jeff Agus.
Fantastic.
You're fired. It's Nacho Piatti.
Nacho Piatti. Okay.
Nacho Man.
Montreal,
Nacho Man.
Orlando, what are the numbers?
Montreal, even money, plus 100. Your draws are plus 252. Orlando City, plus 265.
Montreal wins. Jarrett.
Montreal wins at home.
I think so. I think so, too. John.
Montreal wins at home.
Well, okay, then. Red Bulls hosting Portland, 7:00 Saturday.
Portland.
Red Bulls. What? Jarrett, what?
Portland.
We haven't even said anything yet.
Wrong, New York.
And you're really drunk, and I'm about to tell you why.
Wrong.
Red Bulls, they've won their last 2 games against Portland. They've only lost twice to Portland ever in 10. Okay, that's one reason why Jarrett's drunk with his original pick. Red Bulls have won 5 straight away. We know that. However, they haven't not won at home. That's kind of weird. Timbers, 11 points through 10 games this season. Now, they are known for their slow starts. This is the 5th time they've had less than 13 points through 10. In 3 of the previous 4 times this has happened, they missed the playoffs. They've also gone scoreless in 3 straight matches. 4th time they've failed to score in 3 straight. First time since September of 2019. They have never gone 4 straight without a goal in Major League Soccer. But Jarrett, you're picking Portland. Why?
I'm picking Portland because Red Bulls have yet to win at home, and at some point, I'm waiting for Portland to turn the engine over.
Waiting.
Yeah, I might be waiting, and this might be that week they do it, just because Portland's weird, and you don't bet against Giovanni Savarese, and
you do this year.
Man,
sorry, Gio. Gio, don't headbutt me, but
find you.
He probably will.
Yeah. This is my drunken. This is the still of the week. We pulled this one out. The still.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
What you got, John?
Let's see. Red Bulls are a minus 213. Your draws a plus 349. Portland's a plus 561. Portland needs a new alternator in their engine. I've got Red Bulls.
I got a draw. I think it's ugly, but I don't think Portland wins. I'm going to go draw on this one. New York City and Sporting Kansas City, 7:00 at Yankee Stadium. Or is it at Citi Field? Is it Yankee Stadium? Or what are they doing?
Efforting.
It's not really.
It's still a baseball field.
Stadium, of course.
Yeah.
New York City, they've won their last 3 against Sporting. Sporting won the first 2 times they played. New York City's won 3 in a row. They've scored 14 goals over those 3 in a row. 7th time. That's crazy. That's happened this many times. 7th time that a team has scored at least 14 goals in 3 games. There's only one team that scored more. It's the LA Galaxy in June of 1998. Sporting Kansas City have lost 7 in a row away from home, going back to the end of last season. It's the 2nd longest road losing streak in club history. They lost 16 in a row from 98 to 99. That had 3 shootouts, though, involved in it. So
everybody
that is some Houston Dynamo level road ineptitude.
It did have 3 shootouts, though, and the Wizards at that time were not good in the shootout. Preki could only do so much. Yeah. Keaton Parks and Chris Gloucester scored against San Jose. Here's another wild bit of trivia. Parks and Gloucester are the first pair of Americans to score in a MLS match for NYC since September of 2016. Tommy McNamara and Kyrie Shelton.
I was about to say either McNamara had to be involved if it was that far back.
Yeah, it's way back. Mixed Discarud was not involved. Johnny Russell and Daniel Shallowy each scored for Sporting against Dallas. 7th time they've both scored in an MLS match. What is the duo of Sporting players that have scored in the same game more often in the last 20 years? Who is it, Jarrett? Sporting history.
Duo that would have scored more often.
It's Russell and Shallowy.
It can't be. Yeah, it's Russell and Shallowy have been doing it a lot. Was Dwyer part of it when he was?
He is part of the duo. Yes.
Yeah.
Who
Dwyer
is with him?
I can't think. I don't know. Matt Beasler?
No, John.
Oh, I'm trying to think of. See, I would have.
Wrong.
Exactly.
It's Benny Failhaber.
Benny.
Okay.
Man, disrespect on Benny Failhaber's name. Numbers for NYC and Sporting.
At City Field, by the way. See, and the name I was trying to come up with was I was trying to come up with Digital Takawira. That was the name I was trying to come up with.
Digital Takawira played like 2 years in 1996 and 97. He didn't play with Dom Dwyer. Stop trying to do that.
At City Field, NYC minus 227. Your draw is a plus 359. Sporting Kansas City just north of plus 600.
New York City.
Yep.
New York City all day long. Hey,
Yes.
New York City likes to punish teams that can't defend. Hey, Jason, who's the 6 for Sporting Kansas City? Exactly.
You?
There you go.
I think it's Uri Russell these days. I believe he's back and attempting to play the role. DC United and Houston, 7:30 Saturday night. Houston unbeaten in 5 straight against DC. They last lost to DC in October of 2014. 1.92 points per game in 26 regular season games against DC. The only team that Houston beat up more than they beat up DC was Chivas USA.
Jesus.
That's where we're at. That's crazy that Houston has just whooped up on DC so often. DC's lost 5 of its last 6. They did get the win in the first game of the Chad Ashton era. They lost 3-0 in Columbus over the weekend. Dynamo have lost 2 straight after losing just one of their first 7. Sebastian Ferreira, this is another stat of the weekend. He scored from over 60 yards out against Austin. It was the longest MLS goal since Rooney's 68-yarder for DC in 2019. There's only been one other 60-yard goal in MLS since it was actually tracked by Opta, and it was the longest. And it was Atlanta Silverbacks legend Kosuke Kimura for Colorado against 2011.
Kosuke Kimura, wow.
Whew. DC and Houston, what are the numbers?
DC is on the minus side. They were to minus 118. Your draw is a plus 276. Houston is an even plus 300.
Houston. I'm going Dynamo. I'm going with history.
Jason believes in Houston way more than I do, but I'll take Houston.
I do.
He believes in Houston the way I believe
in Houston, but not all that much. I'll go draw.
Jarrett, what did you pick? Sorry, I was talking over you.
Houston.
Oh, okay. Wow. Now I'm a little worried. New England hosting Columbus, 7:30 Saturday. Before the season, you look at this, you're like, this is going to be a match between 2 of the top teams in the East. It's not right now. Revs are unbeaten in all 3 against the Crew last year. Revs have recorded just 3 wins in the last 15 meetings between them going back to 2015, though they only had 1 win last year against them, 2 draws. New England got their 3rd win of the year against Miami, 2-0. Revs have not won consecutive matches since last September. Crew have won 3 of their last 33 away from home. 14 draws.
Houston-esque.
16 losses. So a lot of draws, but 3 wins out of 33. They did keep a clean sheet in their last one, the draw against Sporting. They could keep consecutive away clean sheets for the first time since 2018. Damian Rivera for the Revs scored in the first minute against Miami, first career start. 3 players now have scored in the first minute of their first start in MLS history. Aaron Pitchkolin in 2005 and Matias Mantilla in 2007. I know Pitchkolin. I got to go do some research on Matias Mantilla. Sorry, Matias. The Crew also got a goal in the last match, Pedro Santos, direct from a free kick. First goal other than one from Zelarayan or Federico Higuain, direct from a free kick since 2011. Pedro Santos taking those could be very interesting. What are the numbers here? Revs and Crew.
Revs minus 106. Your draws a plus 267. The Crew plus 271.
Revs.
Draw.
Okay, fair enough. Minnesota, Cincinnati, 8 o'clock, Saturday night. Minnesota, 3 times against Cincinnati in MLS play. 3 wins, including a 7-1 win in June of 2019. I forgot about that one. Minnesota back home after the 2-0 loss to LAFC. Cincinnati, consecutive wins over Toronto. They did the double over Toronto. Cincinnati has had 6 2-match winning streaks in MLS play. Is that a streak?
No.
That's not a streak.
No, it's a mini streak at best.
It's not a streak.
Lou Brown said that's not a streak.
Yeah, I trust Lou Brown.
It's not a streak.
You can't say 2 is a mini streak or anything. It's not a streak. They've never had a streak. They've never won 3 straight league matches. Never, ever, never, never. They have their first streak in this weekend's match in St. Paul, Minnesota. What are the numbers, John?
Minnesota United minus 149. Your draws a plus 316. FC Cincinnati a plus 355.
Jarrett, you taking it? Does
Yes,
Cincinnati go streaking?
Cincinnati
You are.
Cincinnati gets 3 in a row.
They go streaking?
They go streaking.
Going streaking.
John?
Minnesota United.
I don't trust Minnesota. That's
I don't
also
trust
part of
either
this.
one of them. I'm going draw. I'm going draw. I think there's beverages imbibed in that one. Dallas and Seattle, 8:30 Saturday. Seattle unbeaten in 5 straight in MLS play against Dallas, including playoff wins in 19 and 20. Dallas unbeaten in 7, 4 wins and 3 draws overall. 2-2 draw against Sporting Kansas City on Saturday. They have not had a longer unbeaten run since 2017, where they went 10 in a row. Seattle lost their last MLS match, which feels like a month ago, against San Jose. They had a 3-1 lead. They lost 4-3. First time Seattle MLS history that they lost a match that they led by 2 goals. 123 winning games that they won in a row when leading by multiple goals. Not got a draw. They won 123 in a row with a 2-goal or more lead.
They blew a 2-goal lead twice in that game, by the way.
I know. It's crazy. The 128-1-1 in MLS history with a 2-goal lead. Alan Velasco scored the goal from a direct free kick. First time Dallas has done that in over 3 years. Nico Ladero in the last match took his total goal contributions for the Sounders to 96, 34 goals, 62 assists. He passed Freddie Montero for the most in Sounders history. He is Mr. Seattle Sounders. What does Seattle have in the tank when they go to Dallas this weekend? What are the numbers saying?
Dallas minus 128. Your draws a plus 288, and Seattle's a plus 320.
Jarrett?
Oh, it's Dallas all the way. And you're fine with that if you're Seattle. You're still drunk off the cup, as you should be.
Maybe literally. John?
Yes.
Dallas. San Jose, Colorado, 10 o'clock Saturday. Rapids, 1-0 win at PayPal Park last September. They had 10 in a row before that they had not won at San Jose. They have not won 2 consecutive matches at San Jose since 2003. And I think they were the Quakes at that point. I think they had changed from the Clash by that stage. But they were playing at Spartan Stadium on the campus of San Jose State. San Jose, they got their first win of the season in that game against Seattle. That was insane. Then they lost 3-0 at New York. They have conceded at least 3 goals in 5 of their 9 games of this season. They've given up 23 goals. That is 5th most ever in MLS history. What are the numbers here?
San Jose's a plus 143. Your draws a plus 257. The Rapids a plus 174.
Colorado's not really good on the road. But
this is peak MLS after dark, and you know it.
This is. What are you picking, Jared?
San Jose at home in an MLS After Dark special. This is a double feature this week, by the way.
Is it
we'll get to that
3-3? Is it 2-2?
It's like, no, I said San Jose wins.
Is it
like
3-2?
4-3.
Is it 4-3? Is it
4-3?
Okay, 4-3.
4-3 with some embarrassing goals surrendered.
You are high. What do you got, John?
I'm going draw. I really am. And Jarrett, to your point, if you're looking at an over/under at plus 6.5, you can get plus 1883 for the over at 6.5.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jarrett got way too excited about that.
5.5 is plus 850, basically.
Let's do it.
I am scared.
I am awaited in Valhalla.
I'm going with the Rapids to win this. I do not have any belief, faith, anything in San Jose at all. None, nothing. Absolutely nothing. LAFC hosting Philadelphia, 11 o'clock Saturday. Twin feature, MLS After Dark. LAFC's never lost to the Philadelphia Union. 1 win, 2 draws. LAFC is the only team that the Union have played in MLS history that they have not beaten. Only one on the books for Philadelphia. LAFC, 22 points through 9. That equals their best start in club history. 2019 had that. Only 4 teams have been better through 9 games. LA Galaxy in 96 and 98 and 2010. Kansas City in 2000. Union are on 18 points, most through 9 games in their history. Philadelphia has won only 4 of their 27 on the road against Western Conference teams since the start of 2016, though. What are the numbers for this one?
LAFC is a minus 159. Your draw is basically a plus 300. Philadelphia plus 417.
John.
Draw.
Why are we not surprised?
Mm-hmm.
Jared.
Anybody surprised by that?
No. LAFC, Philadelphia. This is a miserable game for an East Coast team in the same way that a 1 p.m. or a noon kickoff on a Saturday is a miserable game for a West Coast team. Philadelphia is going to try and ugly this game up, but I think LAFC gets it across the line.
I am taking a draw here because I think they muck the game up and are successful in mucking the game up. And while I'm looking at chaos and stupid for the San Jose portion of the MLS After Dark, I am looking for fights and conflict in the LAFC Philadelphia portion of MLS After Dark. MLS north of the border, 4 o'clock Sunday, Vancouver hosting Toronto. Ugh, this game's ugly. Whitecaps, they have not lost to Toronto in their last 2. 1 win and 1 draw for the Reds. Whitecaps have lost 6 of their first 8 this year. They got 1 draw and 1 win, including 3 in a row. Second time Vancouver's lost 6 of their first 8 ever. Toronto, they have not won on the road in 13, 9 losses out of that, 4 draws, 1 longer road winless streak. And you're going back to 2011 when it was bleak in Toronto. Here's a wild one. So Toronto conceded in the 2nd minute. Then Ralph Priso got sent off in the 6th minute on Wednesday against Cincinnati. The Reds are the first team to both concede a goal and have a player sent off in the first 6 minutes of an MLS match. It has happened before. Dallas had this happen in July of 2016. I can't imagine that's a regular occurrence.
No.
Good job.
That's
Toronto.
impressive, though.
It's something. Impressive isn't the word I would use. It's something.
San Jose did it. It took San Jose did it against Atlanta in one of the drunk games between Atlanta and San Jose.
No.
But
2016. Nope.
San Jose has not let me finish. It took 30 minutes for them to do it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay. But that's not as impressive. Toronto went real stupid, real fast. In Cincinnati, of all places.
Yeah, really?
They must have had Skyline chili in your blood.
Yeah, they must have had Skyline chili. What are the numbers, Vancouver, Toronto?
Vancouver's a minus 109. Your draw's a plus 271. Toronto FC is about the same.
Do we have to? Yeah, I guess we do. Jarrett, what are you picking?
It's kind of like watching Strange Brew. You'll be confused by it. You'll get some good laughs out of it, and maybe the McKenzies will show up. Give me Toronto on the road because Vancouver likes getting their flanks attacked more than Hannibal's army.
John.
I think this one for me is mutually assured destruction. Too many absences for Toronto. They had to call 4 up on the short-term emergency. Osorio has a problem with his knee. He didn't play in the midweek against Cincinnati. Probably not going to play this weekend. Offensive absences for Toronto. No real stuff going on for Vancouver, so I'll go draw.
I am taking the Vancouver Whitecaps, and I will watch Kids in the Hall instead. Nashville
will be happy with
RSL.
That.
What's that? What?
Couch Ultras will be happy with that decision.
I'm taking Vancouver, but I am not watching at Couch Ultras. I'm sorry. I will watch Kids in the Hall as they're making a comeback this summer.
Yes.
I'm excited. Nashville RSL 5:00 Sunday. RSL, they got a win and a draw in their first 2 times against Nashville, but both of them were in Utah. Nashville has at least 1 win against all 12 teams it's faced 3 or more times in MLS history. This is game 3. That means Nashville's supposed to win it. 1-1 draw against Philly on Sunday. Nashville unbeaten at home in 20, including the MLS playoffs in 2020. 18 months there, most of them at Nissan Stadium. RSL 1 win in 6 away matches this season. That was in New England. It was stupid. It snowed. Carlos Heel got very upset. RSL has only scored 1 goal in the other 5 games on the road outside of that 3-2 win in New England. Randall Leal, 85th minute penalty on Sunday. They should have had another one. They didn't get it. VAR and the referee were not on the same page.
They'll apologize Saturday for it.
I'm sure they will, probably at like 7:36.
2:57 just before Charlotte and Miami. They'll do so.
No, they did it in the morning last time. Nashville has not lost any of the 12 games in which Randall Leal has scored since joining the league in 2020. 8 wins, 4 draws. Jefferson Savarino is back for RSL. He's number 2. When he was with the team from 17 to 19, he was number 2 in goals scored in that time to Albert Rusnak. So Savarino could come back and be a big factor for RSL. Don't know if he's a big factor here. What are the numbers for Nashville and RSL?
Nashville a -147. Your draws a +267. RSL basically a +4.25.
John, what you got?
Nashville gets their first win at Geodis. Randall Leal scores again.
Jarrett, what you got?
Nashville. They did enough to beat Philadelphia. If Andre Blake wasn't Andre Blake, they get it done. I am the RSL whisperer. I think Ricky Ricardo called me that at one point. So,
okay.
If I tell you something's going to happen with RSL, it's probably going to happen.
Okay. Didn't the Osmonds go from Utah to Nashville to have a bit of a country run back in the day?
I think so. I think that's
they had more success in Nashville than RSL will. Nashville wins.
Yeah.
I think they had some hits. Austin and the LA Galaxy, 7:00 Sunday. Austin, 2-0 win at home last year in Austin. LA Galaxy, 2-0 win at home in LA. That's it. 3 of the 4 goals in these games were scored after the hour mark. That's interesting. Austin have won 4 straight in MLS, first time ever. They reached the 20-point mark in 9 games. They needed 26 games to do that last year. Galaxy won 3-0 in Houston in October of last season. That was their last game in Texas. That was their first win in Texas since 2016. They had gone 9 games in a row without winning in Texas. That's weird. Sebastian Drusi has 10 goal contributions this year, 7 goals, 3 assists. 7 goals already equals their best goal scorer from last season. He's doing pretty well. Chicharito, 5 goals in his first 6. He hasn't scored in any of his last 3, though. He has gone more consecutive starts without scoring 1 time in his Galaxy career. It was September to October in 2020, the dark days for Chicharito in Carson, California. What are the numbers, Austin and LA Galaxy?
Austin is a +135. Your draws a +245, and your draws Galaxy's a +191.
Jarrett, what you got?
Austin. I mean, it ain't easy being green unless you're a wolf. In which case, things are going well in Austin. I think they keep going at home.
Are they a green? They're a green wolf now.
Verde, yeah, Verde wolf.
Yeah, the Verde wolf.
I've not seen a green wolf outside of Austin.
They'll paint it.
That's not right. Don't advocate for that. Pete is going to.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that that's probably what somebody will do. Kind of like what Joe Exotic did to that one lamb.
We never want Joe Exotic's name brought up on this show either. Like, it's Joe Exotic. It's a 3-letter tabloid out of the UK and a 4-letter other paper that's kind of tabloidish out of the UK. And there's like a Super Deportivo thing out of Spain that we don't talk about those things. Joe Exotic's in that group.
Cool.
We don't bring him up. He has no factor in this game, hopefully. What else has a factor in it, John? Who wins?
Nobody. I think that Driussi gets
They've never had a draw.
No, I think that Driussi gets at least one. I think Chicharito gets one. I think it's entertaining at Q2, but I think neither side wins.
They've never had a win, or never had a draw in this one. The visiting team has never won in this one. I don't think they do. I think Austin wins. I think they win at home. And they do not paint any Wolves green, and hopefully they don't paint their coach Josh Wolf green either, because that'd just be weird. It can give him a green mask. He can be in that green like onesie thing that you put on a green skin, exactly. Whatever. They can do that. Sure. Anyway, they can do all that. Okay, let's get into fantasy stuff. Week 10 locks. Goalkeepers, defenders. Walker Zimmerman is the lock according to Ryan Walker. ATL Ryan walked on Twitter. His advice is always very helpful, and it is always presented to you by the Jason Wright Agency at Jason Wright AGEN on the Twitters, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. You can also connect with Jason on LinkedIn as well. Just look up Jason Wright. Zimmerman, 27% owned, 7.8 million on the value. They're playing RSL. RSL have only scored 1 goal in their last 4. You know Zimmerman can get a goal going the other way on a set piece. That feels like a good lock to me. Lock on the attacking side. Now, look, he's already locked if you had him in your team, Luciano Acosta, but he had 2 games this week, and one of them was against Toronto. You're at Minnesota in the second game for Luciano Acosta. Emmanuel Reynoso's on the consider side of things. They are hosting Cincinnati, 7% owned. Reynoso has played his best at home. They're at home. Weaker competition he's feasted on. Cincinnati would qualify for that. They did play midweek as well. I like the Reynoso consider a lot. Also consider Joe Willis. I have learned that Ryan Walker has no love for RSL at all in his fantasy suggestions. I don't necessarily disagree. Joe Willis, yeah, RSL is a team that hasn't scored a whole lot on the road, and Joe Willis is a good goalkeeper. He's only 3% owned. He's 8.1 million. That's a little high on the goalkeeper side, but might be worth it here. Value picks. I think Ryan Walker has a stash of Nathan rookie cards for San Jose, because I feel like Nathan's name comes up on this list a lot. 1% owned. He is a cheap play at $6 million. It is San Jose, so he could have a hat trick or he could get a red card. Like, both are possible.
True.
He did have a suspension earlier. It is against Colorado. I picked Colorado to win that game, so I don't like this value pick. Jarrett, you probably do because he's one of your Quakes.
Yeah, I support this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you probably got his rookie card too. Value on the midfield forward side.
It's Occam's razor. The simple solution here is that he's a Quake. It doesn't have to be complicated.
You have every rookie card of all the Quakes. Karol Swiderski, you should have his rookie card. 7.8 million is the value.
That's where I was going to go. It's like, you don't grab Swiderski, especially if Campagna's not playing.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
3% owned as well. He has come back to the pack a little bit after a little bit of a hot run. They're going to be missing defenders too. I love that pick. I love the Swiderski pick. I love the Reynoso pick. I really like the Walker Zimmerman pick. I like the Joe Willis pick. You needed to already have picked Luciano Acosta. If you did, good on you. And I am scared for the Nathan pick. I'm scared because he might get a red card, or he might have a hat trick.
Yeah. And so,
but it's probably more likely he has a red card.
Yeah. And so, of course, my week got off to a fantastic start because I had Jonathan Osorio in my lineup.
Good job. Well done.
That's what we're here for. Yeah, man.
Any other players you would like to suggest to the people?
Well, I mean, other than not picking Jonathan Osorio, I had Driussi because of what we mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. I've got Tati Castellanos going up against Sporting Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I had Zimmerman, Crépeau in net because we figured that Philly's going to muck it up, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of goals scored in that one.
It's LAFC, John. I'm not sure if I'm making that bet.
And I also had Callens at the back for NYC because it's Sporting Kansas City, and Aaron Long going up against Portland as well.
Yeah, like I agree. I think it'll I think it'll be a draw against LAFC for Philly, but I'm also not going to risk being wrong on that one because LAFC does like to score goals. I'm probably going to go with a different one in goal there. Like Sean Johnson, I think is a good one because I think Sporting Kansas City struggles at Citi Field.
Kalina
is a good one.
Worth at 4.4 in net.
You could absolutely go with that. You could go with Sebastian Breza as well with Orlando on the road, and I do like Montreal in that game. Orlando's been good on the road, so that's a tricky one.
You could go with Bobby Shuttlesworth against a Chicago team that can't create jack squat.
He doesn't have to shuttles. He just shuttles.
One.
He shuttles one time.
Just one.
Yeah.
And he might only have one shot to deal with, hopefully, if Chicago does what they've done. We'll find out. We'll see where that goes. I got to get out of here before I get kicked out of a hotel. Games tonight, NFHS Network. It is Lassiter descending on Macon. Jarrett, you don't feel good about that, do you?
I don't much care for most of the teams in Cobb County. So, no, if it's a team in Cobb County, I'm probably going to be a petty jerk about it.
Okay, well, then you will be rooting for the Cambridge Bears on the girls' side, 17-2-1 on the year, but Lassiter on the girls' side have not lost this year. 15
First time for everything.
4. There you go. And on the boys' side, Dalton against Lassiter. Dalton 18-2. John and I called one of the two losses against Johnson of Gainesville, who won a state championship last night. Lassiter 17-1-3. Those will be on the NFHS network. You do have to subscribe, but you can also go back and watch the other games. You got 7A state championship matches over at McEachern as well tonight. Chris Mooneyham, Justin Hanover on the call there. I'll be with Luke Winstel. And then I will be driving back to the A and calling tomorrow, Chicago and Atlanta. 5:30 is when we're on the air on 92.9 The Game, on Sirius XM FC, on the Sirius XM app, on the Odyssey app, on the Atlanta United app. We're everywhere. We're taking over.
Every app.
Kickoff will be 6:08, and we'll have the full-time report for an hour after. The full-time report will not be on the Sirius XM portion of it. They will go to another match in MLS at that point. But you can listen to that on Odyssey and the Atlanta United app and 92.9 The Game. And then we'll be back here on Monday to talk about all of it from the weekend. Y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy the soccer, and we will see you on Monday. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.